Go. Hello, Juju.
Hi, Susan. You're right. There are a lot of devoted fans here in the Bay Area. Sources close to the Grateful Dead say that Jerry Garcia did, in fact, die of a heart attack at a drug rehabilitation center just north of here in Marin. He had long been battling health problems, from diabetes to various drug addictions. But today, people in San Francisco gathered spontaneously at various places like the Haight-Ashbury to pay tribute to the 53-year-old rock legend and remember the man and his music. Jerry Garcia's love of bluegrass music fueled his own desire to perform, and in the mid-60s he started playing local coffee houses with his buddies Phil Lesh and Bob Ware, the core of what was to become the Grateful Dead. They were psychedelic rangers in the Bay Area rock frontier.
Something strong put us into that pathway, and we can't exactly take credit for inventing it, but when it spoke to us, we definitely wanted to hear more of it.
At the end of the 60s, as pop music moved away from acid rock, other bands lit up and faded away, but the Grateful Dead continued to shine. They were known for their live performances, improvising song by song, never using set lists. And as of this, their 30th year, they remained America's most successful touring band.
The thing that calls you into it is deep stuff. What keeps you there and past the tests is a matter of faith.
My word did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung. Would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own?
The Grateful Dead is being described as one of the most successful rock bands in history. They managed to gross tens of millions of dollars in its 30 years together. One observer noted that Jerry Garcia came to symbolize a special time and place, but in the end he transcended both to become a rock legend. Reporting live in San Francisco, I'm Juju Chang. Susan, back to you.
Thank you, Juju. We'll have more on Jerry Garcia's death at 6 tonight, including a live report from Hampton Beach Casino, where another Grateful Dead member and friend, Bob Weir, will perform tonight.
Once again, Grateful Dead guitarist Jerry Garcia dead Wednesday morning at the age of 53 in a California drug treatment facility. This tragic news would seem to spell the end of the Grateful Dead's long road. But when we asked publicist Dennis McNally about the band's future, he could just say, "I just don't know." We'll keep you posted. That's the news for now. More on this and other stories throughout the day here on MTV.
Of.
And I'm Heather Kahn. An armed robbery in Cambridge.
And the icon of a generation is gone. Jerry Garcia, guitarist and spiritual leader of the Grateful Dead, has died. Garcia died this morning at a California drug treatment center. Officials say the cause of death was a heart attack.
The 53-year-old Garcia was the soul of the Grateful Dead, a rock band that survived more than 3 decades. WBZ's John Doherty takes a look at the extraordinary career of Garcia and the Dead.
He had become the most recognizable combination of gray hair, gray beard, and guitar. Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead. They began in the 60s, building almost a cult following that continues to thrive.
I see, well, a large part of my life I've spent doing something which has turned out to be more fun than I thought it was going to be, and it's lasted way longer than I imagined it might.
Garcia had battled drug abuse for years and just recently had re-entered a California treatment center.
People made a lot of his recent substance abuse problems and going into rehab. And I think his genius as a musician has largely been overlooked. People forget exactly how good of a guitarist he was and how innovative he was on a guitar.
No band was gifted with greater fan loyalty. Many so-called deadheads followed them from concert to concert. But the amazing thing was the range in age. Listen to the band and some of their fans.
She smiled in her countenance, they called Jack of Gold.
More than any one song, it was just the consistently mellow approach that they took to everything, life as well as music.
The music is definitely the #1 magic of the Dead.
And plus the people, the sort of camaraderie that you achieve going to the shows and everything, that's what always drew me back, just going and seeing all the people that I've seen the years before.
They were just a legend. They started a certain type of music, or it was concerts to go to, or what they would say in their music. It was a combination of a lot of things.
At the news of Garcia's passing, many gathered outside Tower Records for a candlelight vigil.
Oh, I love him. I'm sad. I think it's a terrible thing.
As a teenager, Jerry Garcia became interested in two things, the guitar and painting. He pursued both. In 1991, his artwork was put on display at the Concord Art Gallery. Many of his pieces were used to inspire a line of neckties that bore his name.
For me, it's a little like music. It's a lot like music, actually. The approach is really pretty much the same. I start something, and then it starts to turn into something. And as it gets more complete, I see it more clearly.
Garcia and the Dead played Boston Garden more than any other band. They were scheduled to return next month. The question becomes, will they go on without Jerry Garcia? Each has performed solo acts through the years. Garcia had a separate band. But together, they had a certain magic, a spirit. Without Jerry Garcia, that's gone. But the music will never die. Fans, in fact, were to begin lining up this weekend to buy tickets for the next round of Grateful Dead concerts at Boston Garden. Today,
Ability Insurance and
Head Governor Bill Weld.
It's really, really sad.
I'm still in shock. It hasn't quite hit me yet.
Kids my age, you know.
Costa say he makes his
of the man who was Jerry Garcia, but there is heightened sadness because additionally we are seeing now an era pass. These folks started playing music and we started going to their concerts more than 30 years ago. It's a sad day in the music world. It is a sad day across this land. Jack?
Well, since he died at a drug rehabilitation center, I assume he was still battling drug addiction at the end.
We had word over the past couple of months, Jack, that the Grateful Dead had been performing, but that Jerry Garcia had a return of the problem that had plagued him for a number of years. He had re-entered the treatment center, and as we now know, that is where he passed away.
And dead at only the age 53.
Indeed.
All right, John, thank you. Grateful Dead lead guitarist Bob Weir is scheduled to play a concert tonight at the Casino in Hampton, New Hampshire. Grateful Dead fans were already camping out, lighting candles. These pictures just in. Weir says the show will go on tonight. Weir has had no official comment so far, but his spokesman says Weir is dedicating tonight's show to Garcia. We do know that 800 tickets sold immediately after Garcia's death hit the news.
In other news,
to the road they constantly toured on, either together or apart. So in tribute to his bandmate Spirit, fellow Dead member Bob Weir will go on with a show he was scheduled to play tonight in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. David Boeri is there live tonight. David?
Brian, 53 is not young, but it's not old either. And the world of rock is being rocked today by the death of Jerry Garcia. Garcia had the statue of John Lennon at the center of the West Coast sound, the psychedelic 60s, the music coming out of the Bay Area that turned America on in the 60s. And his music spanned generations. The words, the lyrics come to mind. You can't go back and you can't stand still. He was a cross of Santa Claus, Karl Marx, and Mr. Natural. Allen Ginsberg with a guitar and a jug band. Jerry Garcia found the forerunner of the Dead in 1964, the psychedelic 60s, the days of Moby Grape, Quicksilver, and Jefferson Airplane. As the lyrics to Anthem of the Sun go, the bus came by and I got on. That's where it all began. And the band took to the endless road with immense energy, apt for one of its famous albums, The Working Men's Dead. The 60s ended, then the 70s. But the torch of Deadheads was passed to a new generation, the nomad nation of Deadheads. He died at a place called Serenity Knolls, still trucking at 53, and mourned locally by the chief executive.
We'll see if they're able to go on. I mean, Bob Weir is a mountain of talent himself, but Jerry certainly personified the band.
Bob Weir also played guitars and also was the lead singer along with Jerry Garcia. He's here in Hampton Beach tonight, and that show will go on at the casino. We're waiting for him to express his thoughts and reminisce about Jerry Garcia in a little while. By the way, Garcia is not the first member of the Dead to die. There's the infamous Pigpen from the 60s who died then. Jerry Garcia, dead at 53, we're told, of natural causes in a drug rehabilitation center, perhaps natural causes to the lifestyle of the rock and roll era. This live report from Hampton. I'm David Boyer for News Center 5. Brian, Heather.
All right, thank you, David. There's still much more ahead tonight on New England's News Center 5.
It's all right. I will get by. I will get by.
And do something about your
Sitting in tonight. Terrorism, when a cultural icon in this country passes.
Any meat. I don't eat anything with any fat or oil in it. And that's basically it. And
well,
apart from
the
that,
entire junk food industry in America is going down the tubes hearing you say that.
They'll have to come up with different kinds of junk food. Of course, now it's very interesting. You know, I mean, in Marin County, certainly, there are health food emporiums. I mean, the threat of death is always very compelling.
He's had a relationship with cocaine for numerous years and had an acknowledged problem with heroin.
He leaves behind years of music, hundreds of songs, and millions of followers, now in mourning.
I'm not a commercial artist. I don't do things for things. You know what I mean? Anything that I do as flat art is something that comes out of me kind of like sweat. I don't have a lot of control over it.
Now, Garcia's admission to the drug treatment center was a surprise to the band's spokesperson, Dennis McNally, who last spoke to Garcia just a few days ago.
David, as you mentioned, there are millions of Grateful Dead fans. They must be devastated.
Devastated. Right now, fans are gathering in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, Griffith Park in Los Angeles, the Flats in Cleveland, Seattle Center in Seattle, just about every major city. Now, expect vigils, official and unofficial, to continue. At the risk of seeming cliche, Grateful Dead fans are unlike any other in the world. They're a devoted flock. They loyally follow the band from concert to concert for 3 generations. Now that brings up age. That's another unique characteristic of the Dead fan. The band was able to gain new fans while retaining old ones, amazing in the music industry. It was not uncommon to see the grandparents taking their grandkids to Grateful Dead shows.
David, do you think there's life for the Grateful Dead after Jerry Garcia?
I don't think so. Other members of the Dead have passed away, but Jerry Garcia was the heart and the soul of the band and its following. My guess is the Grateful Dead will be laid to rest along with Jerry Garcia. Dagny.
All right, thank you very much, David. We'll have more reactions from fans and friends of Jerry Garcia and show you the candlelight vigils across the country on the next E-News Daily.
Elizabeth Hurley has been in South Africa.
Their devotion almost cult-like. In the process, the Grateful Dead became one of the country's top concert draws, churning out 28 albums and grossing $327 million in the last 10 years, and it could have been more. But remarkably, Garcia let fans record concerts for free. Today, they mourn.
My whole life will be different now. He brought such joy to my life. I have to cry when I think that I'll never hear him play again.
Master guitarist, the Dead's heart and soul, he did not want to be adored, did not take himself seriously. If he had a philosophy, someone said, it probably was, if it's not fun, don't do it.
It closes another page on the book of the 60s.
In Touch of Grey, his only top 10 hit, Garcia sang, I will get by, I will survive. Now, his legacy, his music will.
I will survive.
Bob Paul, NBC News, Washington.
Jerry Garcia was the Grateful Dead. He was there when the band was founded in 1965. He was there for the 30 years of non-stop concert tours that followed. Today in San Francisco, where it all began, fans wept in the streets.
It's like losing a family member, absolutely.
On the internet, musicians and music lovers jammed phone lines.
He was father, he was brother, he was friend, he was confidant,
He was all those things. He was idle. He was Jerry.
Even in Washington, the news was a bombshell.
I got called out of a meeting and was told the news, and I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach.
Garcia's body was discovered before dawn at a drug treatment center near San Francisco. He had checked himself in, apparently wrestling with a long-time heroin addiction. Even fellow band members did not know he was there.
They are all way too distraught to have anything to say.
Drugs were always a central theme for the Grateful Dead, but it was the band's laid-back, hippie lifestyle that drew people. The Dead defied every rule. They had few hit songs, their shows were more like extended jam sessions than concerts, yet legions of fans, the Deadheads, followed them all over the country.
Our shows are always different.
In a rare television interview, Garcia told ABC's Jeff Greenfield the fans were trying to recapture some of the freewheeling spirit of the 60s.
You can't ride the rails anymore in America. You know, it's tough to hitchhike even, but you can have an experience out on the road with the Grateful Dead. You can follow the band around for a tour. You can have those kind of adventures.
Over the years, the Grateful Dead became the most successful concert band of all time. In the past decade, they have sold more than 10 million tickets. They have earned $250 million. But this past summer's tour was troubled. Near St. Louis, a porch full of Deadheads collapsed, injuring several. Near Indianapolis, ticketless fans stormed the concert, tearing a fence down. And just 1 month ago today, Jerry Garcia, though no one knew it at the time, was playing his last concert at Chicago's Soldier Field. The last words of the last song he sang, "I will walk along by the black muddy river and sing me a song of my own." Tom Foreman, ABC News, Los Angeles.
We'll be back in a moment.
The past few years. Here's how he looked and sounded just last month during a show in St. Louis. Once again, Grateful Dead guitarist Jerry Garcia dead Wednesday morning at the age of 53 in a California drug treatment facility. This tragic news would seem to spell the end of the Grateful Dead's long road. But when we asked publicist Dennis McNally about the band's future, he could just say, "I just don't know. We'll keep you posted." That's the news for now. More on this and other stories throughout the day.
Lay your poor body down. Just one thing to say. Please forget you do my name. My darling, sugar.
Weeknights.
While he only met Garcia once, Cohen says he was happy Ben and Jerry's could honor him while he was alive. Next time on E! News Daily, who's the next?
Guitarist who kept the counterculture of the 1960s, rocking and rolling right into the 90s, died today in California. He was 53. Garcia was found dead at a drug rehabilitation center, reportedly of natural causes. Correspondent John Blackstone has the Jerry Garcia story.
For Jerry Garcia, there were tributes today all the way from the sidewalks of San Francisco.
I'm more numb right now than anything else.
To the halls of the United States Congress.
I got called out of a meeting and was told the news, and I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach.
By the 1990s, Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead should perhaps have been museum pieces. But instead, these survivors of the psychedelic 60s just kept packing them in.
It was the best example of how music can penetrate every age, every strata of society and make us as one.
Hey, what the is that?
For Jerry Garcia, the goal was not to make records. It was to play music live, to improvise, make every performance different.
He wanted to be a good musician. And you know, on the good days, you know, he was a great musician.
I don't care if my works survive, you know. or anything like that. I'm not really that attached to my own work. And in fact, that is sort of embarrassing in a way.
But millions are attached to Garcia's work. The Grateful Dead is the top live band in the United States, grossing $50 million last year. And their fans, the Deadheads, are legendary.
Oh, it's like the Gypsies. You know, we get together. It's a tribal stomp.
Though Garcia spent much of his life fighting drug abuse, that was not the only legacy of the 60s he kept alive.
That's something from the 1960s is hope, is love, is peace, is creativity. Those are wonderful ideals.
We would all like to be able to live an uncluttered life, a simple life, a good life, you know, and like think about moving the whole human race ahead a step.
From counterculture to mainstream, America is grateful to have had Jerry Garcia. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
And that's part of our world tonight.
Came around, said I was running, but I take my time. Friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home.
Generations, putting the drugs into sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Jerry Garcia was a legend, and he played the role right to the end. Jerry Garcia, leader of the Grateful Dead, was a psychedelic pioneer who, by his own admission, took countless LSD trips, binged on heroin and cocaine, and embodied the 60s drug culture.
Marijuana, Exhibit A.
You know, every time a rock figure dies, we all sit around and talk about it being the end of an era. This truly is the end of an era. The Grateful Dead were not just a band, they were a lifestyle for a lot of people.
We rode out, but never know. Our captain fell in love with a lady like a dove.
For 30 years, Garcia took the Grateful Dead and their fanatical followers, known as Deadheads, on an astonishing musical trip. The band had only a few hit records, but their concert tours were among the highest grossing of all time. Today, fans in San Francisco return to the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood and to Golden Gate Park, where the Dead helped create the Summer of Love.
I'd like to say, thanks to his family.
Well, thanks to him, too. Thank you, Jerry.
Garcia died today at a drug rehab center after he secretly checked himself in for treatment. Reportedly, he had never completely sworn off drugs, although most of his recent health problems were related to his 3-pack-a-day cigarette habit and to diabetes. In one of his few television interviews, Jerry told me he was trying to live better.
The health thing is good because it's gotten me so, like, body conscious. So now I figure, well, I feel like I probably do want to live at least past the millennium. You know what I mean? I mean, we're so close. You know?
We got 6 years.
So I gotta last at least through the millennia. And I figure as long as I'm counting on lasting that long, I would like to last in feeling well. You know what I mean? So for me, the notion is that I don't want my body reminding me that I'm sick or old or f***ed up, you know what I mean? And anyway, I want to feel good.
Jerry Garcia died at age 53, leaving 4 daughters and his wife, Deborah. A band spokesman says that Garcia died of a heart attack, but it was just last year that a friend made this eerie prediction, quote, "It was a meltdown. Too many cigarettes, too much junk food, too little exercise," end quote. And late today in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park, there
battled drug addiction for years. Across the country, faithful Dead fans are mourning Garcia's loss. This is Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, where Garcia's band made its mark as one of the leaders of the 60s counterculture movement. Deadheads there say Garcia's spirit will not die with him.
You know how they say Bob Marley and John Lennon were kind of like prophets? Jerry Garcia was one too.
So to me, it feels like when I go into a Jerry show or something like that, it's just like going into a sermon or something like that, you know, swagger, blah, 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 so and so, you know, a good preacher, you know, it's all spiritual.
I don't feel like he's not here. He's just body's not here. Now his spirit's here, you know? How can you'll never forget the guy. You never forget what's happened to you because you were there with it, you know? And he's deeply embedded in all of us, isn't he? Yeah.
Tributes to Jerry Garcia are coming from the mainstream as well. The Republican governor of Massachusetts calls Garcia's death a loss to my generation and my children's. A U.S. senator says the news hit him like a kick in the stomach. What could account for such widespread grief? Well, Garcia's own words provide a possible answer. He once said, "We need magic and bliss and power, myth, celebration, and religion in our lives. Music is a good way to encapsulate a lot of it." Later, we'll have more on the death of Jerry Garcia, including a live report from San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury.
Is from Marin County, California, where Grateful Dead guitarist Jerry Garcia died early Wednesday morning, 8 days after his 53rd birthday. The Marin County Sheriff said Garcia died of natural causes. Band publicist Dennis McNally told us Garcia had suffered an apparent heart attack. Garcia's body was found at 4:23 a.m. Wednesday by an attendant at the Serenity Knolls Substance Abuse Treatment Facility in Forest Knolls, California. Publicist McNally told us he knew of no specific reason why Garcia was at the facility. Garcia had been suffering from diabetes and general ill health the past few years and looked older than his 53 years. But in that time, he established himself as one of rock's great guitarists and the most identifiable member of rock's Kings of the Road. Here's a look back.
From his spiraling sweet-toned guitar licks, you might never guess that Jerry Garcia had lost half of the middle finger on his right hand in an accident at age 4. With the Grateful Dead, Garcia would take a long, strange trip through rock history, during which Garcia became famous enough to have a flavor of ice cream named for him. And the Dead resolutely ignored trends and followed its own muse, which was equally at home with expansive improvisation or concise country's tune.
So this music comes off authentically as itself. That is to say, it's hard to say really what exactly it is. It's electric music with drums. It's like rock and roll, you know. It has the same instrumentation, but it's really Grateful Dead music, whatever that is.
With Garcia as main songwriter and lead instrumentalist, the Grateful Dead pioneered San Francisco's psychedelic rock sound in the late 60s. By the 1990s, the band, followed by several generations of Deadheads, was a thriving counterculture corporation, earning $15 to $20 million a year and placing in the top 20 of Forbes magazine's annual list of entertainment moneymakers. Everything was going along just fine until July of 1986, when Garcia, after undergoing drug treatment, slipped into a near-fatal diabetic coma for 5 days.
It is so weird to wake up in the hospital, you know, and find out later that you'd been out for many days, you know, and it's just, you know, what happened, you know? It's that kind of thing, and that's definitely strange. The rest of it has been mostly has exposed me to the tremendous depth of affection from Deadheads and all this concern, you know, that came pouring out of everywhere, you know.
The coma and an early 1987 drug bust were followed by the good news of the Dead surprise smash hit, Touch of Grey. Then in August of 1992, the Dead had to cancel a tour for the first time ever. When Garcia was hospitalized,